Hello Untitled everyone, welcome to class 12 biology. In this video, we will be discussing about populations and population attributes. So first we will talk about what do we mean by population, definition of population, and then we will discuss about some of the attributes or some of the features of population. So what is a population? How do we define a population? A population can be defined as a group of organisms living in a well-defined geographical area who share or compete for similar resources and potentially interbreed with each other. Right? That is called as a population. Right? Now remember this particular term, interbreed with each other. If those individuals they can interbreed with each other, that means they belong to the same species. Right? So a group of organisms of same species living in a well-defined geographical area who share or compete for similar resources can be called as a population. Now, you have to keep in mind that by looking at word interbreed, you should not mistake that the term population can apply only to those sexually reproducing organisms. Even those organisms who reproduce asexually are also considered as a population. Right? So you can think about population of bacteria, population of amoeba, population of hydra, etc. Right? So all those organisms, they can also reproduce via asexually. But since they belong to the same species group, and if they are located within the same geographical area and they compete for the same resources, they can be also termed as a population. Right? So that is the definition of population. But you can think about population of human beings in Mungot. You can think about population of peacocks in camp number 3 or something like that. Right? So a population of tiger in a particular jungle. So that can also be a population. Right? So you can take a group of or any group of organism living in a particular area that can be called as population. Right? So that is the definition of population. Now, the natural selection process, right? The mechanism which brings evolution, right? Which causes evolution, as per Charles Darwin, right? Natural selection process, it operates at population level, right? Even though natural selection acts upon individuals, right? They operate at population level to bring about the effect, that is evolution. To bring about evolution, natural selection, it operates at population level. Why do we say that? Right? Even though natural selection acts upon an individual, and if natural selection favors the survival of that particular individual, that means that individual will create more progenies of itself. Right? That means it will pass down its genes or its alleles down to its progenies. What will happen to the population? Inside the gene pool of that particular population, the frequency of that particular allele will increase. Right? So because of that change in the allele frequency, evolution will occur. Right? So that is the concept that we brought forward from chapter on evolution. Right? So natural selection, it operates at population level, and therefore the population ecology, when we study about population, it is called as population ecology. The population ecology, it links ecology to other branches of biology like genetics and evolution. Okay, so that is about a little bit of introduction to populations. Now let us talk about population attributes or the characteristics of population. What are the features of population? Right. So population attributes, we have got these 4 population attributes, these 4 features. So a population can have birth rates and death rates. Population can have a sex ratio. Population can have age distribution. And finally, population, they can have population size or the density. Okay, so let us discuss one by one. So the first population attribute is birth rates and death rates. Now it is mentioned in your textbook that births and deaths, they are attributes of an individual, whereas birth rates and death rates, they are the attributes of a population. An individual cannot have birth rates and death rates. Birth rates and death rates, they are strictly attributes of a population. Right? So what do we mean by these two terms? Right? These two terms simply means changes in the numbers, whether it increases or decreases with respect to members of the population, that is called as birth rates and death rates. Now, how do we calculate these two? Right? How do we calculate birth rate? So let us take example over here. So at the beginning of the year, let's say there were 20 people, right? And at the end of the year, the final population became 28 people. That means 8 new individuals were born in that particular year. So how do we calculate the birth rate of this particular population? So the birth rate can be calculated as 8 individuals who were born in this particular year divided by the initial population, that is 20 people, right? So 8 divided by 20, it gives 0.4, right? So 0.4 is the birth rate, but you have to write this entire thing, 0.4 offspring per person per year, or you can write 0.4 individual per person per year. So that is the birth rate of this particular population. So that is how it is calculated, right? And how do we calculate death rate? In a similar manner, right? So let us take example over here. At the beginning of the week, there were 40 flies, right? And within a week, 4 flies died, right? Final population became 36 flies. So how do we calculate the death rate? Death rate can be calculated as 4 flies who died divided by the initial population, which gives rise to 0.1. So that is the death rate, right? But you have to write this entire thing again, right? 0.1 flies per fly per week. So that is the death rate. So here the important thing to remember over here is how to calculate and how to express the birth rate and death rate. Okay, so I hope you are clear regarding how to write or how to calculate birth rate and death rate and how to represent birth rate and death rate. Okay, so here I have taken this particular information from Wikipedia, right? Here you can see the birth rate and death rate of India. So birth rate in Wikipedia is shown as 18.2 births per thousand, which can be shown as 0.0182 individual per person per year. So how many people were born? 0.0182 person per year. So you have to write it like this, right? And death rate 0.0073, right, people per person per year. So that is the death rate. So this is how you have to represent the birth rate and death rate. So birth rate and death rate, they are the attributes of a population. So another population attribute is sex ratio. An individual can be either male or female in a sexually reproducing organism, right? So male and female, they are attributes of an individual, whereas a population can have sex ratio. So sex ratio is an attribute of a population. So what do you mean by sex ratio? The sex ratio is the ratio of males to females in a population of sexually reproducing organisms, right? For example, 60% of the population are females and 40% are males. So let us say hypothetically there is a jungle, right, in which there are wolves, right? So if we try to see the sex ratio of wolves within that particular jungle, you can say that 60% of the population are females wolves and 40% are male wolves. So you can say something like that. That is a sex ratio. Another example is sex ratio of India. So there are 946 females for every 1,000 male in India. So that is quite a huge imbalance of sex ratio in India. And it happens because of child infanticide, female infanticide that we studied about in our reproduction chapter, right? So why does female infanticide happens? Because the parents, they prefer male child over female child. And why do they do that? Because of some social norms, some nonsense social norms, right? So that is about sex ratio. So sex ratio is one important attribute of a population of sexually reproducing organisms. So age distribution is another population attribute. Individuals can either be old or young depending upon individual's age. So age is an individual's attribute, whereas a population can have age distribution. So what do we mean by age distribution? So age distribution can be defined as individuals of a given age or age group within a population. That is called as age distribution, right? So age distribution can be represented in a form of pyramid called as age pyramid. So in your textbook, figure number 13.4, it shows age pyramids of human population. So these 3 age pyramids, they show the age distribution of 3 different human populations, right? So if you look in these pyramids, you can see that the pre-reproductive age group people, they are represented with yellow bars, and reproductive age group people, they are represented by blue bars, and post-reproductive people, they are represented by pink bars, right? And you can clearly see over here that these pyramids are of different shapes, right? These pyramids looks different in shapes, and by looking at the shape of the pyramid, age pyramid, you can describe the growth status of that particular population, right? For example, this particular age pyramid over here, it shows that the population is expanding. The population pyramid over here, it shows that the population is stable, and the population pyramid over here, it shows that the population is declining, right? How can we say that, right? Over here you can see that the pre-reproductive age group people, they are more in number compared to reproductive age group. So when they reach reproductive age group, they will further produce more pre-reproductive age group people. That means the population will keep on expanding. Right. Over here, the population will remain stable because the number of pre-reproductive age group and the number of reproductive age group people, they are same. Right. That means the number will remain stable. Right. The population will remain stable. And over here, you can clearly see that the number of pre-reproductive age group people, they are very less compared to the number of reproductive age group people. So when they become old and go into post-reproductive age, and the post-reproductive age group people, they will die off, right? So what will happen? This yellow line, they will take over the blue line, right? They will enter into reproductive age, which is less in number, and then they will further produce less children, which means the population will go down, right? So the population is declining in this particular case, right? So the shape of the age pyramid, it reflects the growth status of the population, right? Whether it is expanding, whether it is stable or declining, right? So this is about age distribution, one of the attributes of population, right? You should remember this particular diagram. You have to study this particular diagram, and you have to know about the implications of different shapes of age pyramids upon the population's growth status. One more important thing to remember is, for human population, the age pyramids generally show age distribution of males and females, right? So here we have the example of age pyramid of India of year 2020. You can clearly see that the males of different age groups are represented by blue bars, and the females of different age groups are represented by red bars. So this is the age pyramid of India. Okay, and you can clearly see over here that for human population, the age pyramids generally show age distribution of males and females. Population size or population density is another important attribute of population, right? So population density or population size is designated by letter N, right? And N could be represented by numbers, which means it is the number of individuals within a population. That is called as the population size or the population density. For example, we can say there are 10 tigers in a jungle. So the population density of the tiger in that particular jungle is 10. So N can be represented by number 10. Okay. But it is also important for us to know that we also take percent cover or biomass to represent population density, right? For example, if we have lots of grasses in a particular area, and there is only one large tree, it does not mean that ecologically that one large tree is insignificant, right? More number of grasses does not mean that the grasses are playing significant role and only one tree is not playing any significant role. So in order to represent a meaningful data, right, we also take percent cover or biomass in that particular case to represent population density, right? And if the population is really large, let's say there are lots of fish within a particular lake, right? We cannot count each and every fish. So we do not have a particular number. So how do we get a population density in such particular case, right? In such cases, right, where the population is really large and cannot be counted, right, relative population densities are taken, right? For example, the same lake where there are lots of fish which we cannot count, we can estimate the population density by the number of fishes caught in per trap, right? We throw a net and we see how many fishes we catch in a trap, and then we extrapolate that data to represent the population density of fishes in that particular lake. Okay, so that is another method. And sometimes if the animals are really cryptic, like for example tigers, right, we cannot see tigers each and every day in a jungle. Even if you walk throughout the day in a jungle, you won't come across any tiger, right? So how do we how do we count the number of tigers in a jungle, right, when the tigers are so cryptic, right? They hide, right? They go around, so we cannot count each and every tiger. So in such cases, indirect estimations are made regarding the population size in the jungle, right? For example, in tiger census, what people do is they count pug marks. They look at the pug marks and then they estimate the number of tigers present in the jungle. They look at scats means their poops, right? So they look at their poops and then they also take it as tiger count, right? So indirect estimation of population sizes are also made. Okay, so that is about the population size or population density, right? And there is one question, right? Out of all these methods, which method would you use to estimate the population density of a bacteria in a petri dish? So that is one question. You should try to find answer for that, right? How would you estimate the number of bacteria or the population size or the population density of bacteria in a petri dish by using which of these methods? Okay, so in the next video, we will discuss about population growth. So please read section 13.2.2, right, before you watch the next video. Thank you.